Welcome to the Dark Ozarks. We are discussing the dark history of the Lake of the Ozarks. In fact, there's so much to talk about. This is part 2. But first, we want to remind you that the Dark Ozarks podcast is now available on Branson Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or about any other podcast platform. So, is the history and lore of the Lake of the Ozarks as noir as a certain TV show with a certain name?
Fiction doesn't have anything on the real story. From gangsters before there was a mafia to bloody feuds and murders, not to mention tales of monsters, hauntings, and more. The Ozarks do not disappoint in the rich history that is part of the Lake of the Ozarks region, and Hollywood can't beat those stories.
We will return to the Lake of the Ozarks, but first we want to invite you to like, follow, and subscribe to Dark Ozarks on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, as well as your favorite podcast platform. We also invite you to become a Dark Ozarks subscriber on Facebook. On the Dark Ozarks Facebook page, click subscribe, have your login information ready, and join Dark Ozarks behind the scenes for only $4.99 per month.
Your $4.99 per month subscription allows you to come with us on paranormal investigations, deep dive research, and topics too controversial for public view. The next 100 subscribers will be entered in a drawing for a free Dark Ozarks t-shirt and an exclusive signed first-run copy of the book, Dark Ozarks, The Spooklight. Subscribe today to be entered in the drawing.
And now you can get Dark Ozarks t-shirts for sale at darkozarks.com and paranormalsciencelab.com.
We encourage you to check out Always Buying Books in Joplin, Missouri, in person and online on Facebook and at the website alwaysbuyingbooks.com for all your reading needs, including a large section on the paranormal, history, and more. Not to mention, the building is haunted. Tell Bob and Elise that we sent you.
We also want to thank Beard Engine Brewing Company in Alba, Missouri. Beard Engine Brewing is the only English-style brewery in Missouri and has been twice named Missouri's best brewery by the Missouri Brewers Association. Great beer and great food in a historical building with a noir past. And yes, their building is also haunted. Tell Nate and Tiff that we sent you.
And tomorrow night, Dark Ozarks will be live in Joplin for a walking tour.
Yes, we will. 8 o'clock. We are doing this in conjunction with the Joplin Downtown Alliance, which is very active in historic preservation projects in the Joplin area, and also with the Missouri Historic Preservation Conference that is going on this week in Joplin. So the public is welcome. You can go to paranormalsciencelab.com for tickets, $10 a head, or pay at the gate. And we're going to be meeting at the Scottish Rite Cathedral in Joplin.
So at $10 a head, is it an extra fee if they're disembodied?
Double.
Fair. And decapitated?
Triple.
Fair. We hope to see you in all of your parts there.
Exactly.
So this is part 2 for our short. Our long version will be on Facebook shortly. And for you, what is a standout aspect of the Lake of the Ozarks?
One thing that strikes me is that although it's basically 90 years old, I think, 88 years, something like that, 88 years or something like that. Anyway, 92, it's 92 years old. However, the lore around it really feels like a much older place, as if the lake had been there longer, almost time immemorial, even though the lake isn't.
I think that's very interesting. That's very fair. You know, the lake is in and of itself massive, absolutely massive. And before the lake was there was an enormous amount of history and lore and in everyday lives of people going on, but also a lot of noir and phantom history relating to the Civil War, relating to early settlement, relating to vigilante justice that took place after the Civil War. And then as you start moving forward, the fact, quite frankly, that Route 66 was not that far away, and a lot of really rugged country in that particular space of the Ozarks. It's very beautiful. It can be very haunting, and it is also haunted. There's a lot of stories, a lot of, even in our short time of speaking with folks at the Lebanon Library a couple of weeks ago, we had the opportunity to talk to a number of people who had some really interesting personal stories of hauntings and cryptids and just some very weird stuff happening. And I think that's fascinating. And like you said, the lake itself is deeply iconic and quite frankly does seem like it's been around forever.
It really does. And not to mention, we joke sometimes about the recurring urban legends that come up, not only in the Ozarks, but across the country. But the Lake of the Ozarks has one as well, and that is the giant man-eating catfish.
Yes, yes, which is understandably unsettling. Well, if there's one thing that I know about having been around catfish for most of my life is that they are hungry and they can get really big if they have enough food supply.
Exactly. Now, whether or not they're big enough to actually swallow a man, that's another question. But you will hear that tale around the lake and supposedly at the base of the dam. So,
well, when you think about the depths that are involved, you think about the rich food supplies that are available in Lake of the Ozarks, especially in terms of just the other fish populations and the nutrients that are available. And then you go out on the lake at night and sit there in your boat and imagine that there is a catfish larger than your boat lurking just beneath the surface. Doesn't take very much of that to start messing with your perceptions.
it really doesn't. And we're going to be talking about more of these kind of stories, as well as some pretty noir history in the longer video that will be up tomorrow night. So we invite you to check back for that. In the meantime, don't forget to check out upcoming events and merchandise at darkozarks.com and paranormalsciencelab.com. Thank you again to Always Buying Books and Beard Engine Brewing Company for helping to bring the Dark Ozarks to everyone.
On the next episode, we are going to be discussing the most iconic hauntings of Joplin, Missouri. Catch the Dark Ozarks podcast on Branson Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or about any other podcast platform. Thank you, everyone. Remember,